Good morning, everybody. Greg Murdock, Miigwech Musqueam, Indigenous, Totem. I want to talk to you about an idea that I heard many, many years ago. And this was in the beginning of my healing journey, when I first started to sober up, when I started to leave my drinking behind. I joined an organization called AA. And I really liked it. It actually, it along with a friend of mine, I think saved my life. So I have gratitude in my heart for that organization. One of the things that they said to me, or I used to hear when I would go to the various meetings, was, if you don't come here for the right reasons, you won't stay sober. And so I used to preach that to people. I would meet people and they'd come into the program and say, well, if you don't have the right reason, you're not going to get sober. You have to come here for the right reasons. And I believed that for a long time. And then after I've been sober for I don't know how many years, 30 years, 40 years, I've been sober since 1972. I was at a sweat lodge in Ontario. And I was in there and I met the lodge keeper, and I came out of that lodge and he told me, you need to fast. You need to make a food offering to honor your totem. And you need to fast for your totem for 4 years, for 4 days at a time. And I remember when I was in that lodge, or we were talking afterwards, we were outside and we were talking about it. And this is when he was telling me what I had to do. I was thinking, okay, yeah, I can see myself making the food offering. That's relatively simple. But 4 days with no food and no water, I'm not sure about that one. But I didn't say anything because, when you're in somebody's community and they're talking to you, you need to be respectful. So out of respect, I didn't say anything. But I was thinking to myself, not so sure about this. I'll have to do some consultations. So, long story short, I left. I was coming back home and I stopped in to see one of my teachers. And he said, where you been, Greg? I said, well, I was in Ontario. I was doing some teachings and went to a couple of lodges. And I said, this guy told me I had to go on a 4-day fast and I had to do it for 4 years. And I was pretty sure that this teacher of mine, who was a very kind, gentle person, would say to me, oh, Greg, that's the way they do it over there. You don't have to do that. That's what my expectation was. Instead, he said, oh, we're starting a 4-day fast tomorrow. You can do it here with us. So I thought, I guess I'll have to do it because I was trying to get out of it. And here I get this invitation. So I said, okay. So I had never fasted before. So I said, well, what do I have to do? He said, well, just get yourself ready. He said, the only thing I want to know is, do you want to do a 4-day fast by yourself, or I'll put you out in the bush, or can you do a 4-day fast with the community, with other people that are going to fast as well? And I'm kind of a macho guy, so Ross said, I'll go out and do it by myself. No, he said, you're not ready for that. You do the community fast with other people. So then I was thinking to myself, why are you asking me? and then you tell me what to do. But I listened to him. I said, all right. So I got prepared for the fast. And there's a number of things. It's a ceremonial process, so there's a number of things that you have to do, and I'm not going to go into the details of it, except to say that I did them. Well, after the first day, he came to me in the morning, and he said, did you have any dreams? I said, no. You have any visions? I said, no. Didn't see nothing unusual? I said, no. I said, oh, carry on. He says, just keep praying. Because when you're fasting, you pray all day long. You got your smudge and whatever it is you got to pray with, and you just pray for everything you can think of. Because you're praying and you're asking for help from the Creator. Second day came. He's there to see me in the morning. You see anything? I said, no. Have any dreams? No. All right, carry on. The third night I had a dream. It was a very beautiful dream too, but I didn't understand it. And there was two parts to the dream. In the one part of the dream, I seen a man standing, and he was pointing. He had his arm out pointing, and he was dressed in buckskin. He had braids on. He would have been a tall man, probably 6 feet, slim, black hair, buckskin outfit, like I said. Behind him there was trees, and in front of him there was grass, there was river. And then I remember looking at it, and I was looking in the background to see what he was pointing at, because I couldn't see anything. And then the dream switched. Now there was a man come walking towards me, and he had on a black coat, and he was probably about 20 feet away. It was kind of dusk, and he was walking towards me, and I was just looking at him. And as he got about within 6 or 7 feet of me, his coat turned into a turtle shell, and it just kind of took me aback. I didn't think much of it, but it was surprising to see that. And then when he came right in front of me, he was going to put his hands up on my shoulders. And as he reached his hand up to put on my shoulders, his head turned into a turtle. And it startled me, and I woke up. And it was such a vivid dream that I wrote it down on a piece of paper, and I drew a picture of it. The next day, the elder comes in and he asked me, "Do you have any dreams?" I said, "Yeah, I did. I had a very strange dream," and I told him about it. And he said, "Well, I don't know what that dream was, the part of the man standing, pointing, but the turtle, it was the turtle spirit come to visit you. And the reason that he comes to visit you, Greg, is because he wants to support you in what you do and how you're living your life." And he said, because the turtle represents truth. And Greg, you speak the truth, but you also live it. And so that turtle is just there to remind you, keep doing the good things that you're doing. So I said, okay, and I fasted for another day, and then we broke the fast, and I left. And I didn't think, I thought it was, I felt kind of proud of myself for having completed the first part of my 4-day fast, or the first year of it. And I didn't attach much to the dream, except that it was unusual, because for the most part, I've grown up in Western society, and I think like a Westerner, and I'm not used to having those kind of things happen to me. So a week later, I was up in Saskatoon, and I had made contact with a friend of mine, Simon Kaitwahad, a man I've mentioned a few times in my various stories. And Simon had taken ill. And I had taken a ceremonial object to him because it was presented to me as a gift, and the person who gave it to me as a gift said, "Do you know what this is?" And I said, "Not exactly, but I think I know somebody who will know what it is." And so I took that ceremonial object to Simon, and I said, "Simon, can you explain what this is?" "Oh yeah," he said, "that's a staff, Greg." He said, "I'll bless it for you." So he blessed it, and this was in the spring, early summer, spring. And Simon had taken ill that fall or that winter, and he hadn't done anything ceremonial since January of that year. So when he seen the staff that I had, he offered to bless it for me. I remember sitting at his house, and he said to his wife, "Elma, bring my bundle." And we sat him on the floor, and he did this, did a ceremony, blessed the staff for me. He said, "Greg, this staff is meant to be sat in front of, when you have a gathering, put this staff in the middle of wherever your gathering is, and it'll keep you safe during the whole time that you're there." So I took that, I did that ceremony with him, and then I carried on with my journey. I went to meet another man, an Anishinaabe man. He showed me how to wake it up and how to use it, put it to rest when we weren't using it. And then I went back a week later to thank Simon for giving me that teaching. And by the time I got back to his house, and they said, "Greg, you just missed him. He's gone to, he's in the hospital. We had to take him into the hospital just a half hour ago." So I said, well, what hospital is that? And they told me it was in a hospital in Saskatoon up on Avenue C. I think it's called St. Paul's Hospital. So I went up there, and by the time I got there, his daughter, or sister, who was there, said, you're too late, Greg. He's still alive, but he's in and out of consciousness, and he won't recognize you. And I said, well, that's too bad. I said, I just wanted to come and thank him. And she said, well, do you have any medicine with you? And I said, well, I have my bundle downstairs. And she said, well, go get it. We want to do a ceremony. So I went and got my bundle, and I came back up. And she said, we're on the 5th floor in the hospital. She said, go down the hallway. On the left-hand side of there's a door, and you go into that room. And when you go into that room, that's where this hospital allows us to do ceremonies. So I said, all right. So I went into that room. And when I walked into the room, I looked at the wall, and I did a double take, because on the wall there was a painting. And on the painting was an Indian man in a buckskin suit with long black hair, braids, and he was pointing like this. And I remember looking at that painting, and I thought, how can this be? That's what I seen when I was in this fast that I was doing. And I said, it was blowing me away. And in the middle of the circle, there was an insert, and on the rock there was a rock, and on the rock was a turtle. And I thought, this is too much. And in my vision, when I had it, there was also something in front of me, and there was a woman sitting on the ground on the left side or the right side. So I look at that, and I'm thinking to myself, this is really something. So then his son walked into the room, and he gave me some tobacco. And I said, what is this? And he said, we want you to do the ceremony. We want you to say a prayer for us. And at that time, I was new in my journey, and I hadn't been used to doing those kind of things. In fact, I'd never done that. So I thought I was struggling with myself, because I didn't want to do something and misrepresent who I was. But at the same time, this young man was asking me to do something that was obviously very important to him. And I wanted to do it for the sake of my friend Simon, who I'd known for a number of years and had been so kind to me. So I decided that what I would do was I would take the tobacco and do the best that I could. So I took the tobacco, and I sat down in front of me. There was the altar there. And I was going to start to do the ceremony. By this time, this young man was sitting beside me. His sister was sitting over there, and Simon's sister was in the room. And everything was just like in the vision, except that in the vision, the woman was on the right-hand side. And I thought, before I get started, I wonder if I should say anything about this. And I said, no, I'm not going to say nothing. I'll just proceed. So I was just going to start, and then a nurse opened up the door. And she said, you've got to open up that window. You can do the ceremony in here, but you have to open up that window to let the air out. So Simon's sister got up, went and opened the window, and then she sat down exactly where I seen it in my vision. So by this time, I'm just saying, I got to do what I got to do. So I lit the sage, started to pray. After I finished the prayer, it was very silent in that room. It was silent. And I was just going to get up. And then this young man, Simon's son, started to speak. So I just quieted myself down and allowed him to speak. And as he spoke with a great deal of tenderness about how he loved his dad, all the things that he had learned from his dad, and how he had helped him over the years. And I was being very, very silent, just sitting there listening to that. And as he was speaking, I was thinking to myself, how is it that this is happening? That here I am in the middle of this ceremony, And this young man is having this very important conversation about how much he loved his dad and how much his dad influenced him. And this all came out of something that I didn't even want to do. I didn't want to go into that fast. I was the most reluctant faster you ever met. And yet, because I did it, here I am sitting doing this thing, and it's unfolding. And it's beautiful. So he finished speaking. He is a little emotional. And again, I was going to get up, but then his daughter started to speak, the same thing. So once again, I sat myself down and I listened. And all I could think of was, and all I could say was, miigwech, miigwech Manitou, miigwech Manitou. Thank you for bringing me to this place, for allowing me to do this thing, for my friend, Simon. And then finally it was over. And when I got up, I said to his sister, I said, I want to show you something. And I said, wait here. And I went downstairs because I had the picture that I drew of the vision I had. And I said, I seen this a couple of weeks ago. And I just wanted to show it to you because I can't believe that it's what's happening here. And I can't remember the word that she said, but she said there's a word in our language, Greg. And it describes what you're doing because it means you can see things before they happen, and it's a gift that you have. And for the Anishinaabe, for the Neheyawak people, because these are Cree, the Neheyawak people, that's a perfectly normal part of life. And when you say it's blowing you away, and when you say it's hard to believe, it's like you're diminishing the experience. Just accept it. It's part of your life. It's part of who you are. It's part of your gift that the Creator's given you. And so I started thinking afterwards, what about this teaching? You have to do things for the right reason. You have to have the right reasons before you do things. I did not have the right reasons, but still a beautiful thing happened as a result of it. And so I've changed my thinking about that concept or that idea that you have to have the right reasons before good things will happen to you. Now I tell people, just try it. Doesn't matter why you try it, just try it. Go to a lodge, see what it's like. Go spend a day giving a smudge to something. Go offer some tobacco to a tree. Do something. Just try it and see what happens. Because I know from my own experience that good things will happen to them. And that good thing that happens is what it is. It's the healing. A healing that takes place in human beings, in our culture, in the Anishinaabe culture, the Neheyawak culture. That's why it's so important to do those things. And that's why I wanted to share that lesson with you today. With that, I say miigwech. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.